Cubs fans, y'all. I got a loaded episode for you today. You don't want to miss it. We're going to talk about why the Chicago Cubs front office just can't trust the kids. And of course, we're also going to talk about, well, if they can't trust the kids, they got to get a veteran presence in there. I still believe the Chicago Cubs need a big name bat, but they also need some consistency and maybe some platooning too. We're going to talk about it all right after this. Welcome in, everybody, to another episode of Chicago Cubs Central, your number one spot for all things Chicago Cubs. Listen, hey, I'm your host, Mike Jones. Appreciate each and every last one of y'all for spending your hard-earned time, I guess. That don't make sense. Anyways, spending your time hanging out with your boy, watching Chicago Cubs Central, man. Coming here, making this your number one spot. That's right, your number one spot for all things Chicago Cubs. Listen, guys, I am on here doing all that I can to bring you guys all of the excitement of the offseason, all the trades, all the rumors, all the reports, bringing them right here, laying them at your feet, and then we will see where the Chicago Cubs brass chooses to go from there. But I need you, before we begin this video, to do anything else. If this is your first time tuning in, go ahead and hit that like button. Go ahead and hit that share button and hit that subscribe button. That's right. We are trying to take Chicago Cubs Central global, baby. We got Cub fans everywhere, all across the world. And you liking, sharing, and subscribing helps with all of that, guys. And also, jump into the conversation. Guys, I love when people leave comments below on the videos, whether that be on X, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever that is. I appreciate each and every one of you guys for getting in tune with your boy and for leaving those comments. It means the world to me. You guys will never know. All right, so we got to talk, y'all. First and foremost, I know. Today's episode, my buddy Steven, who always comments, is already shaking his head. Mike Jones. You just don't get it. He and a plethora of other Cub fans are okay with Matt Shaw, with Owen Caissie, and with some of the other young talent getting a shot this season and seeing what they could do for the Chicago Cubs. There's a problem with that, though. And the reason I'm bringing this up on this episode isn't necessarily because of Steven, but it's actually because of Bruce Levine joining on the Mully and Hall show on 670 The Score. And obviously the conversation has been brought up, like, okay, what are the Chicago Cubs going to do since we know that Kyle Tucker has left the building and is not expected to be back with the Chicago Cubs? I mean, losing a bat like Kyle Tucker leaves a vacuum of power and proven production. Even when he wasn't hitting for power, you could still count on him to get base hits. You could still count on him to drive in runs. You could still count on him to get doubles. He was still somebody that could do that for you. Now, we go from what was known to now the unknown. And so for me, I look at this and I say to myself, okay, the Chicago Cubs do have an opportunity here with some young hitters. And like I said, the young players bring hope, and sometimes they actually do break out. But unproven youth means risk. It means inconsistency. It means adjustment periods. It means plate discipline issues. It means all these different things that necessarily the Chicago Cubs don't have the room or margin for error for. I mean, like I said, we were the top seed last year in the postseason. I'm sorry, the top wild card seed in the postseason. And for us, we want to build off of that. We don't want to move backwards. We want to move forward. And moving forward means that next time the Chicago Cubs are looking and vying to win the division, a division that was won once again by the Milwaukee Brewers, who also had the manager of the year for the second consecutive year in a row. So you look at this and you say to yourself, Bruce Levine came on to 670 The Score, and he was very adamant that the Chicago Cubs could just look to let their young players play. And credit to David Haw of the Mully and Haw show, He didn't back down off of that. He didn't just accept that as an answer. No, he put Bruce's feet to the fire, in essence, putting the front office's feet to the fire. As to saying that's not good enough. And I mean, I understand the optimism behind Matt Shaw. I understand looking at what Owen Caissie did in AAA. I understand that Moisés Ballesteros, my God, is only 21 and can hit bombs already. You're looking at probably the next Kyle Schwarber. But that's down the road. That's down the road. That's not right now. You have a chance to compete right now, and you have to capitalize on that chance. The key question in today's episode is, can the young guys pick up the slack now? Or should the Cubs seek a big-name free agent bat to bridge the gap while the youth develops? And this, guys, is going to be an ongoing conversation. I already got other episodes planned. Going to have guests on to talk about their feelings and their thoughts behind this too, up until we see exactly what the Cubs are going to do. But for today's episode, let's look at our young guys in a vacuum that are supposed to, quote-unquote, replace Kyle Tucker. Let's look at Owen Caissie. Owen Caissie will be replacing Kyle Tucker out there in right field if the Chicago Cubs do not make another move. It'll be a platoon probably between Owen Caissie and between Seiya Suzuki. And when Owen Caissie's on the bench, Moisés Ballesteros will probably DH, and Seiya Suzuki will probably play right field as of right now. So the outlook, a top prospect for the Chicago Cubs, and he does have high power potential. His 2025 numbers in the MILB, AAA Iowa, he put up a 370. He batted 370 times, a 286 average, 22 home runs, 55 RBIs, 5 stolen bases, and a 937 OPS. At the MLB level, in 12 games, he had 26 at-bats. He batted 192 with 1 home run and 4 RBIs. So his minor league numbers are strong. The power OPS near 940 is very impressive, but his MLB sample is tiny and rough. And also, advanced metrics show some red flags as his expected WOBA suggests he may need to make some adjustments on his swing and everything like that. But bottom line, this kid is very exciting, but he's not yet a sure thing for production at the major league levels. So you look at him and you say to yourself, like, my God, like, you see what he did in AAA. He's clearly ready for a major league team, but at the same time, the kid may not necessarily be ready for what the Chicago Cubs are trying to accomplish. They're trying to win the division next year. I know that's the goal. I know that's the team goal. They were very close this season to winning the division. They're going to have to win a lot of games to win that division. Let's look at the next guy, Moisés Ballesteros. He's a young Dominican catcher / DH in the Cubs system. Solid bat from the minors. He is quickly rising. His 2025 numbers in the MILB, he had 446 ABs. He had a 316 batting average, 13 home runs, 76 RBIs, 5 stolen bases, and an 858 OPS. In the majors, he had 57 ABs, a 298 average, 2 home runs, 11 RBIs, and an OPS of 868. Guys, listen, let me tell you something. That major league stat record for him is very promising, especially for such a young player. Dude's only 21 years old. He's shown bat to ball skills. He makes contact. He has decent power, and he looked okay in his short stint in the majors. But it's still early. The sample size is still small. And while promising, he doesn't guarantee he can fill the role that somebody like a Kyle Tucker left. Guys, I'm telling you, Moisés Ballesteros is going to be a bona fide hitter in this league. I have no doubts about that. And with it just being, and with there being universal DH, he don't even have to find a role so to play on the field. He can literally just come in and hit for you. But I don't necessarily feel comfortable yet with giving him the role of DH every day. I don't know. And last but not least, the man without a country, the man that I feel like everybody outside of my buddy Steven, wants to get rid of. That is Matt Shaw. He's another young piece for the Cubs. He was drafted in 2023, 13th overall. Guys, he shows so much promise. 2025 numbers in the MLB, he had a 226 average, 13 home runs, 44 RBIs, and an OPS of 690. And the MILB, he had 91 ABs, 286 average, 6 home runs, 14 RBIs, and a 969 OPS. So Matt Shaw, defensively, I have a lot of appreciation for what he was able to do defensively at third base this year for the Chicago Cubs. As a defensive third baseman, he made so many spectacular plays. But the problem isn't his defense. The problem is for the better part of the season and him having to be sent back down to the minors, to AAA, to the Iowa Cubs, is because he had a hole in his bat. And he couldn't figure out, and the Cubs couldn't figure out why the hell this kid could not make contact. And I mean, it was one of those things where, you know, it just lingered on and on and on. And it was him slumping at the same time as Dansby slumping, at the same time as PCA slumping, at the same time as Kyle Tucker being injured. And you had to trust in Ian Happ and Michael Bush and, you know, Carson Kelly. And I look at this and I say to myself, you know, he has the tools. He has all the tools. But again, he's not yet proven enough to be relied upon to replace what Kyle Tucker did for the Chicago Cubs, y'all. And I don't want to let this front office off the hook. You don't get to say, hey, you know, we're just going to give these new kids a try. We're going to give the kids a try. Let the kids play. I mean, the kids do deserve to play. But being relied upon, that's a lot of weight, a lot of pressure to put on those young shoulders of Moisés Ballesteros, of Matt Shaw, of PCA even. I mean, sure, he came through and was in the MVP conversation for 2.5 months last year. Sure, he's playing for Team USA. Sure, he's gonna keep developing, but he's still young too. Y'all read the letter that he wrote. He's young. He's still trying to figure it out. He has not figured out the MLB yet. That slump he was in was god awful. And part of the reason why the Chicago Cubs didn't end up winning the division. So what's the plan? The Cubs have these young hitters, right? And they are assets. They should be part of what? The future. But with a major bat going, you still need someone who can consistently produce now while the young players grow into their full-time roles. Waiting for all of them to break out in the same season is risky. I mean, let's just be honest with ourselves. It's very risky. Now, the best path, I believe, I could pose the best path for the Chicago Cubs to potentially do this is to do a hybrid situation. Bring in a veteran, big name, bat to anchor the lineup while giving the youngsters time and opportunity to develop rather than thrusting them into full-time roles with full-time expectations immediately. PCA benefited. Seiya Suzuki benefited. Michael Bush benefited from being able to hit around Kyle Tucker. A proven big league bat that pitchers know, like, yo, if I make a mistake, this dude's putting in the bleachers. Even when he wasn't hitting, pitchers still treated him with the respect like he was going to hit. I mean, he was whiffing. But then you'd have Seiya Suzuki come behind him and hit a double. And you'd have PCA come behind that, you know what I'm saying, and get a single. You have, like I said, guys, we have Carson Kelly come behind that, you know, and drive in a run or two. So you have to realize the respect factor of a proven hitter is what the Chicago Cubs need. I mean, and unfortunately, I don't see anybody on the Chicago Cubs roster that is a respected, proven hitter. Not Carson Kelly, not Dansby Swanson, not PCA, not Seiya Suzuki, not Matt Shaw, not Ian Happ. I mean, probably the one with the most respect as a hitter is Nico Hoerner, and that's just because it's so damn hard to strike him out. The Chicago Cubs are in desperate need, dire need of a proven bat that pitchers know this guy will hit home runs. This guy will make me pay if I don't get him out, if I don't respect him. And it's that type of respect that right now is currently a big hole missing in the Chicago Cubs batting order. Now, this next topic that came up today was also brought up was also brought up in another on another show. It wasn't Bob Nightingale, I don't think, but it was a couple of guys brought up the fact that the Chicago Cubs could also be looking at maybe a platoon outfielder, a right-handed batting outfielder that could come in and potentially help the Chicago Cubs team. And one name that came up is former Boston Red Sox Rob Refsnyder. He's a great platoon piece. He's formerly of the Boston Red Sox and others. The guy has versatility. He's outfield and he has maybe a little bit of infield experience too. His 2025 stats, he's a 269 average, 9 home runs, 30 RBIs, OPS of 838. As a platoon outfield piece, he could potentially provide veteran presence, serviceable bat, and depth, which helps with the young players while they take their time. He won't replace a big name star like Kyle Tucker, but as a complementary piece, yes, he is very plausible as a piece that could come in and help these Chicago Cubs. The question is that enough for the Cubs' offensive needs right now? If it's the goal to make a push, you might want more power or someone with a higher ceiling. So my take on this, yes, Refsnyder makes sense as part of the mix. He's a low-risk supplement, but no, he's not the big bat who can fill the gap left by Tucker. So the Cubs still should look to add a more impactful free agent at bat. So, like I said, honestly, y'all, the Chicago Cubs got their work to do. We've already talked about multiple big bats that they could potentially bring to the club. We'll continue to do that throughout the weeks, up through the winter meetings. I'm so excited for the winter meetings, y'all. But I'm hoping that, like I said, the Chicago Cubs take this season seriously, don't rest on their laurels, and that they go add another big bat to replace what Tucker is leaving behind. But, hey, listen, that's my time for today, y'all. I want to know from you, what's your thoughts on the young kids? Should we let the young kids play? Should we trust in the young kids? Or should we go out and get a more proven bat? Let me know your comments. Comment below, guys. Listen, I appreciate each and every last one of you for tuning in to this episode. Make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. I thank you all so much. And until tomorrow, go Cubs, go.
Thank you for watching another episode of Chicago Cubs Central, the #1 spot for all Chicago Cubs content. Remember to like, share, subscribe for more Cubs content.